Because the Malayan Peninsula collapsed and fell to the Japanese in 18 days, my parents had got into Government House in Singapore. My mother was working in the censorship. We had to do something. And my father was doing his normal work as possible. And the fall of Singapore was evident because 2 of our finest ships were sunk by the Japanese in the bank in Singapore Harbour, Prince of Wales and the Repulse. And my mother wanted to come back to her daughters and wouldn't leave in a ship which was going to Australia or somewhere else. And my father then put his foot down and said, look, this island is going to fall to the Japanese. You ought to go. Doesn't matter what ship you're going on. And he took her down and put her on the Empress of Japan, rather ironically, with 3,000 women and children who were leaving the island. And she sailed 3 days before the fall of Singapore. My father stayed in Government House because they were given no orders from the governor. The troops and the volunteers in Singapore were told every man for himself. It was total collapse, really. And I think my father said the worst moment for him, he talked very little about his internment, was the moment the Japanese kicked the door open and he was busy pouring whiskey down the sink and burning confidential papers. And they bellowed at him, get out, and they marched the civil servants across 17 miles across Singapore into Changi Jail. And there they remained for 3.5 years. And there were some beastly things that did happen, of course, but my father was very fortunate. He knew the country very well. He understood the mentality of the Japanese, and he kowtowed. And we didn't hear, my mother and I, if he was alive or not for 2.5 years. Then we received a handwritten postcard saying that he was alive and well. But again, he was still interned. He didn't get any messages from us at all. And it was only as a result of the atomic bombs being dropped on Japan, on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, that the Japanese collapsed. And immediately the prisoners were released. And I think it was a Dutch ship my father came back on. And he was very emaciated. He'd lost height and very debilitated, but mentally sound. A lot were not. And he came back to England and joined my mother and myself in a house that we were renting. And an ambulance came up, and there was Daddy, able to walk. The voyage had done him good, but his eyes had been affected, and he had developed severe cataracts in the eyes and was having problems with that. But he had no English clothes, and so I went up with him to London, and we went to the Women's Voluntary Service, where they had suits and trousers and jackets and things like that. And we kitted him up, because everything, you couldn't buy things, everything was on coupons. So this is all second-hand clothing that my father, who had once been ADC to the governor of Penang, was subjected to, but he didn't mind. He was so pleased to be home. And what was rather wonderful, he was there to give me away when I married for the second time.